All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And of course, thanks for subscribing and liking the videos. We truly appreciate it. Tesla released the latest update, FSD Beta 10.69.25.2, which is a point release from the last release and not the anticipated version 11.3 that they're actively working on with Tesla employees. Okay, so we're going to take this out for a spin, see how it performs, see if there's any differences here. Of note, just looking at the release notes, nothing really major. The only thing I noticed here just off the release notes is that there's no more early access. So this is not in the early access program, even though it says full self-driving is an early limited access beta. But the designation up here is not saying early access anymore, just FSD Beta. So this represents the wider releases to the majority. So a wider beta as opposed to a limited access, early access beta as it used to be. But it's still rolling out in the early access waves, meaning certain preferential waves go first, certain owners get it first, and then it starts to roll out to other owners based on your location, based on your geography, so on and so forth, okay? The other note that I noticed here is that on the suspension notice here that it gives you, it actually says that FSD Beta feature can only be removed per this suspension method, and it will be unavailable for approximately 2 weeks. So this is that 2-week suspension. Prior to this, it would be suspended until Tesla resets the strikes, and then it'll be reinstated into your car. Right now, this is saying, hey, if you have strikes, too many strikes, your FSD Beta is going to be suspended for 2 weeks. So it's a 2-week timeout, if you will, for FSD Beta. So that's really good to see here. For those that are asking that may have not even gotten this release, and you didn't even get this release because you have too many strikes, FSD Beta strikes will be completely reset with the release of version 11, whether it's 11.3, 11.4, whatever version that they release to customers, not employees. That's the release where you're going to get your strikes reset, so fear not. All right, so otherwise, release notes are pretty plentiful, as they always are. Lots of good detail here. You guys can read these at your own leisure. There's a lot of stuff in here, nothing really of note that is going to concern us other than the things that I just mentioned. So we're just going to take it out for a drive and see how it fares, okay? So I'll come here, I'll switch these positions because you guys say I should have it this way instead, and we'll jump right into the drive. All right, so we're going to make 2 stops today. We're going to go down our normal path and a little bit of a different path in the process of going down that normal path, okay? So we'll put it in gear, give it a moment as we creep up a little bit and let FSD Beta engage. Had the car parked, switch some profiles, so it's not engaged right now. And I'll get it out on the road. And once I get it out on the road, here we go. It's engaged now, and we should be able to start it up. I'm going to get through this first intersection because there's a billboard that's sort of blocking. You guys can't see. It's blocking the incoming traffic. A little difficult for the car to see, but I'm going to go ahead and take it. And I'll engage now, and we'll see how it does. Going at the limit. FSD profile set to average, still no pothole avoidance, and we'll see what happens. Foot hovering over the brake, again, that's still your best defense for FSD Beta, is being able to put the brake on and disable it immediately. Obviously, if you find yourself in a situation on the highway using highway autopilot, like some people on a certain bridge, you definitely want to have your foot hovering over the accelerator in those moments, in those instances, in the event that you encounter some phantom braking. Okay, so far so good, staying in the lane good. Phantom braking right here a little bit, probably because that car jumped in front of us. No problem there, not terrible. Getting over to the appropriate lane. Slows down aggressively here. Have some waters in the back, so you may hear that as an indication of how hard the car is braking. Nobody behind us, so no real pose of a threat in that regard. But so far, it's doing everything I expect it to do, with the exception of a little bit overzealous phantom braking for someone who cut in front of us a little further up ahead in this car right here. Needs to get in the right lane. Gets over nicely. Slows down. Has a green turn arrow. Let's see what happens. Green turning arrow. Can it make it? Is it going to respond to this green turning arrow? Goes wide. Good job. Excellent job. And good job staying in the lane. This is what it did before. So no real changes here, but I like it. I'm going to stay in this lane just because it's easier to take the steep turn that we're going to take up ahead from this lane. There's a lot of potholes and drainage happening in the other lane. Okay, car's clear to go. Great job. Cars tend to go over the line as you see them going over right here, even when they're not even making the lane change. So the car has to be extra vigilant for that. Morning time, people rushing to get to work, driving however they feel fit to get to work. All right, coming down a steep, winding mountain road, slowing down really, really nicely here. Really nicely. Taking this turn very comfortably. But on the left side, there's lots of potholes, so I'm glad it stayed in this particular lane. Asking me for some feedback, not a problem. Very, very steep, hard to get an understanding of what that looks like on the camera, but it's very steep. Good job. Taking it nice and slow. A couple potholes. Gets a little tight right here. I wonder how it's gonna react. A little bit over the line there, a little bit over the line. I didn't like that. And I'm going to make the mandatory lane change to get into this left lane because that's the lane we need to be in ultimately. And again, the bushes and the branches stick out a little bit too far from this this barrier here. I don't trust that. Okay. Good job avoiding this little bus. Made a little bit of a maneuver where it sort of avoided the bus. So the bus was a bigger obstacle. And it kind of made an evasive maneuver there. I'm not mad at that as long as there was no car in that lane. Handling the merge pretty good. And this is where it gets kind of tight. Let's see what happens. I'll let it do its thing. Oh, very close. Again, just my concern is the weight and width of the S and the car being cognizant of that when making turns and making maneuvers. It needs to get in this left lane and make the left turn on the left turn signal. Can also go on green. I want to stop here. Went a little bit too aggressive for my taste there, so not great there. I'll make this turn. I wanted to get out of the way of this, but it was a little bit too aggressive for my taste. Anyone else probably would have let it go, but I'm not too comfortable with that maneuver just because of the speed and the pace that it was going at. I'll make this turn and then I'll re-engage. Be able to re-engage here. I'll re-engage, 25 miles an hour, door open, pedestrian out, goes wide to avoid them. I'm okay with that. I'll keep it at the limit right here just because this is a school zone, people getting picked up by buses, kids getting dropped off, whatever the case may be. And I just want to be extra vigilant here, and then I'll speed up once we get past the gas station up here. Doesn't want to let this person go. Not the greatest maneuver, but okay. Or greatest decision. Now I'll bump up to 30 if I can. And then we'll continue on as normal. This is going to take us down the road of our typical test path minus the first initial right turn to get onto this road. So we can still test out the majority of the test path minus the first turn. All right, here we go. It's going to end the trip here. May come to a slowdown. I will intervene, past the destination, continue trip, and then I'll resume. Bump back up to 30, camera's back up, and we're off. Coming up to our first right turn. See how that Hearst made it? Right from in the lane, not getting into the side of the lane. It makes it very easy, because this is a sharp turn. It makes it very easy to make the turn when you're straight versus doing this where you have to slow down significantly. And then come around pretty aggressive, Felt good, but it was pretty aggressive. I let it do its thing. Very fast. Again, water's moving to give you a sense, an indication of how aggressive the turn is. And that was pretty aggressive. Got fog lights on. I'm going to actually turn the fog lights off. Wish it was easier to do that, Elon, like it used to be in the other vehicles where it's right on the main control page. Okay. Very, very awkward. Not good. I'm going to flag that. Not good. I let it go this time. I didn't take over, but it went kind of wide on that particular turn where it shouldn't have, and it kind of felt uncomfortable. So not good in terms of level of comfort, not good in terms of decision making or confidence in that regard. Okay. 2 cars coming. 1 car is turning on the left side over here. And we're all clear. I'm going to give it some accelerator to go just because I wanted to get out there and do its thing. Very aggressive again. Then it really gets on it. So once it gets out and kind of hesitates a little bit, it then gets really, really aggressive. Really aggressive on the accelerator, which can be a good thing if it's trying to get into the lane and finish its maneuver, but also can be an unsettling thing. I don't even have Plaid acceleration on here, but I really felt that. And as you can tell, a large case of water is sliding in the back, and you typically would not hear it under normal driving conditions unless you really get on some power or you really have some G-force in the turns. So this is a good indicator to tell how aggressive the car is being. A little bit hesitant there for a second. Continued on, no problem. We're gonna go a little bit further than we typically do. And in doing so, we're gonna be able to test out some new scenarios or some older scenarios that we haven't tested in a while, not new scenarios for us. Pedestrian in the street, okay, good job. Okay, it sees the pedestrians. It's trying to maneuver around them, I can tell. The yoke is sort of waffling back and forth, trying to decide what it needs to do. And I understand that's what the car is doing, actually. It's actually calculating many different paths that it can take based on the conditions as they happen in real time. I totally understand that, totally get that. But from a operator perspective, being in the car, that can sometimes be unsettling and make you feel like you don't have as much confidence in the car, and the car doesn't have as much confidence in what it is doing. That's something you have to gain trust on. You have to drive your car, let your car drive, do the heavy lifting. I'm not going to say driving, the heavy lifting for you, and gauge your own level of comfort. If you don't feel comfortable, take over. Don't feel bad that you have to take over, but if you don't feel comfortable, take over, and definitely know what your car can and cannot do. Do that by riding routes over and over again to get a level of comfort. And then when you go someplace you don't know, you got to understand, hey, where's the threshold where I need to take over? Okay, so that's kind of where we are right now in the state of FSD Beta, is being able to have that level of comfort and confidence for your car in your location. Every location is different, every car is different, and therefore affects how you see things and how you perceive FSD Beta to be useful versus not useful. Okay, going pretty centered, looking like it wants to make the maneuver that it typically does, and it's pretty straight here. It's pretty straight here. Maybe you've learned something from the last 1,000 times that we've done this. But yeah, that was a good job. That was a really good job, staying the course, not getting over and sort of wavering like it typically does. This car next to me might want to go straight. I don't know if FSD Beta is going to be able to beat it, but let's take a look. But overall, that was good. That was a good maneuver to just stay straight and stay the course. We're off to the races. This person the car is reacting pretty good. Trying to get over a little bit and just react to the car creeping up in our blind spot. This car's parking. Hopefully we don't get caught by the train. A little bit of an accelerator push here. People typically try to go around here, but I think the person's not turning anymore, so I think we should be good. Let's just not get caught at the train. job. Train track here. Taking it at a decent speed. Lots of chaos here. This car wants to turn. It's still getting over here. That's not good. Confusing the car behind us who wanted to pass on the left. Not good there. So I'm gonna flag that. Not good on that one. Change speed zone. So this is also changed back down to 25. It automatically does that, which is good in most cases. Not so great in residential areas where the speed zone is not mapped correctly, and it goes to 50 miles an hour. As I use FSD Beta more in suburban areas, I noticed that there are a lot of streets with a 50 mile an hour speed limit, which is really, really dangerous for anyone who doesn't know where they're going. And they're just letting FSD Beta take them from point A to point B, going down a street they're not familiar with, and therefore encountering very abruptly a 50 mile an hour speed limit, especially in the Plaid. Whether you have Plaid acceleration or not, even when you have just sport acceleration, it's still pretty aggressive. And when you feel that push of going from 25 miles an hour to 50 miles an hour, it's pretty scary. So Tesla, you definitely need to check your speed zones, your speed maps, or whatever data you use to associate a speed limit unseen on a given street, right? So the speed limit is not posted, but it's just, hey, there's some data here that says that it should be X miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. Should always default to maybe 25 or 30 miles an hour versus 50 miles an hour for these unknown areas, because there's no highways here. There's no street in this immediate vicinity that is 50 miles an hour other than the highways, which are further away. So that's a problem, still remains a problem, and I have to be extra vigilant when it comes to going down streets that are residential that I'm not certain that FSD Beta has the right speed mapped. So this is 30. I'm going to bump up to 35. I meant to do 35 just to speed things up a little bit. Again, morning time, people trying to get to work, don't want to hold anybody up. The flow of traffic is moving as such. Cars pretty close behind me, and then the cars ahead of me are not too far ahead. So we got some room to breathe here. Lots of traffic up here. We'd really love for it to reroute me down one of the side streets, which is what a human would do when it sees this much traffic here on the screen. Good job slowing down pretty naturally. Okay. Good job, good job. So far, so good. Decision-making, confidence, as well as safety seem to be in a decent space, but obviously there were some issues with some of the turns, some of the areas where I flagged, where it gets dinged. But overall, I feel like it's a pretty good drive. If I didn't drive this course before with FSD Beta, I would feel not as confident as I should, just based on some of the maneuvers and some of the decision making. But it's getting better over time. It's getting better over time. So hopefully it can continue to get better. And we'll start to see more human-like behavior. Hard, aggressive braking as you hear the water move. Visualization-wise, I don't see anything new here in the visualization. Nothing new for train tracks, nothing new for school buses. Haven't encountered an active emergency vehicle, but I hear that there's some response to emergency vehicles now, which is great. Would love for them to visualize that as well. I need to make this turn. Can we make it? Can we make it? Very close to the curb. Okay, I'm here. You need some help, I'm watching you. Couldn't quite see if that was an eyes on the road or a hand on the yoke. Probably hand on the yoke because it was making that aggressive turn. But I was looking at the camera as well, just to keep an eye on the curb distance. In general, the cabin camera has been a little bit more relaxed, but I think it's going to get even more relaxed in the coming releases, especially when we go to version 11 and the car gains more functionality. So the more capability the car gets, the more relaxed the driver monitoring scenario should be. And again, our take is that it should be either or, eyes on the road or hand on the wheel or yoke. Not both at the same time. When your eyes are on the road, you need your hand on the yoke as well. So hopefully we'll see what that bodes, and hopefully that the NHTSA does not shut that down like they're shutting down so many cool features in Teslas. Back to 25 miles an hour. I have no idea what it's doing, but I'm going to disengage here and flag that. I have no idea what was happening. I'll try to re-engage here at 30. Odd scenarios here. Again, just being able to react, I think, is the biggest weapon that you can have for this technology. Being able to respond and take over, and not just let the car do whatever it needs to do. As evidenced with that sort of video on the bridge where the guy just let the car come to a complete stop and cause a pileup and hurt people. Not a good look. Take over early, take over often. And by the way, for those that don't know, if you've seen that video with I think it was San Francisco and the bridge, that was actually highway. No way that could actually be FSD code, FSD Beta code. That was actually autopilot highway code. So not quite the same. That's going to be negligible when version 11 comes and they're all in the same stack. So it'll all be the same code. But for now, there was a distinguishable difference between the code used for autopilot versus the code used for FSD Beta. So if that person's claiming FSD Beta was on, that's not the case, because that was a highway and couldn't be FSD Beta on that stretch of highway. And I think I've seen some other people also drive that same course to prove just that. So not saying, no one's to blame, but I'm saying that it wasn't FSD Beta, if that's the issue here. Flashing yellow light coming up. Now we're venturing into newer territory for FSD Beta. Let's see how it handles it. A pretty wide road. I'm glad it's not freaking out and swerving side to side, staying towards the center line. That's excellent behavior. That's what it should be doing. But then people will pass me and do silly things like that against its nature. So people, bad. Cars doing the right thing, staying towards the center line. This is not a 2-lane road. They shouldn't be passing. Here is where it delineates whether it's a 2-lane road and the car needs to get over. So here's where the car needs to get over. Indicate that it needs to get over, or just get over properly and do its thing. Good job. And good job with the proximity sensors, the ultrasonic sensors. Glad that we have those. And that we don't, sorry for those that don't have them and are losing some functionality. So when we get past, not this light, maybe 3 lights from here, we're gonna make a left turn onto a road where some new lights have been added. Interested to see how FSD Beta reacts to those new lights. Obviously driving that path manually and with Beta, and it not having those lights and the signage on the streets. Interested to see what it does. Again, a wider lane, a little bit of phantom braking here. Or maybe it was actually going over the speed limit. I couldn't really see. But good job staying towards the center line, biasing towards the center line. This seems to be new behavior for this particular build, and I like that. That's the right behavior that you should exhibit when the lane goes wide. As opposed to trying to center and wavering back and forth. And there's a no turn on red here, and these people are just saying, forget it. I don't care, I'm getting to where I need to get to. It's a no turn on red. That person should not have made that turn. It's specifically designed for this time of day where it's a school time, school zone area. All right, so we're coming up at the light, or the intersection, I should say, where new lights, new traffic guidance has been added. And good job avoiding these too. They didn't used to always avoid those. It definitely doesn't visualize them, so good job. But new traffic guidance has been added here. Interested to see how FSD Beta is going to react to this. And then we'll do our hardest part of this drive, and that is going to be a roundabout, which is not my favorite thing to do on beta, to be quite frank. It has a hard time, especially when the lane lines, and look at this, it's trying to overcut this car. Come on, beta. Come on, beta. Get in there. Come on, beta. All right, that was pretty bad. Flag that. Very, very bad. I had to give it more accelerator than I typically would need to. Here are the new lights and the new street signage. Let's see how it reacts to it. If it does at all. Obviously, a light is a light. It should just see it and stop, but you never know. And then once we pass this last light up here, this one coming up right here, we will be in a sea of traffic. And now it's trying to make a turn or stay in this lane. I can't really tell. Be in a sea of traffic, trucks, cars, tightly funneling into two lanes, and then trying to make themselves or take themselves around a roundabout, which again, not my favorite thing. Now for us, just to give you a little bit of the visualization here, what we need to do is we need to stay in the outer lane to go all the way around on the outside and go straight. Pretty straightforward maneuver, but FSD Beta really struggles with roundabouts without proper lane lines marked. These lane lines seem to be faded a bit and just do not do a good job of showing the car where it needs to be. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this is not our last drive. Hopefully this doesn't make the news and cause problems. And yeah, fingers crossed. Just trying to get into this lane, which is not the right maneuver already. Okay, turns the turn signal on. Oh, this is terrible. This is where it gets stressful. This is where it now wants to get back into this lane. See that? Absolute nightmare for FSD Beta. Okay, good job yielding. Now go. It's clear. Go. Oh no, this is terrible. Oh, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm disengaging. Yeah, doesn't work. Flag that. Flag it. Okay, so fail on that, and I will just call it a day here because I don't want to have to deal with this again, and I don't want any problems. So that's it. We're done here. FSD Beta 10.69.25.2 just really is not ready for these roundabouts, North East Roundabouts. I've seen some other roundabouts videos in California and other places where, hey, it does great, even Canada. But in the Northeast, somehow, some way, it just does not like roundabouts, and it does not know how to handle roundabouts the right way. And the markings weren't even as bad as I thought. Okay, so that's kind of where we are right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did you get this version? You might not have yet, but when you do get it, let me know how you feel about it. Let me know what you think about it as compared to the previous build or any previous build that you might have gotten. In terms of a safety score or in terms of a FSD Beta score, I want to talk about safety, confidence, level of comfort, as well as decision making, right? So when you talk about level of comfort, I felt like that was more of a 6. When you talk about decision making, I also thought it was a 5, especially at the end. Wow, it was way down. So 5 for the decision making. In terms of safety, I didn't feel safe at the end. So I'm going to also give that a 5. And in terms of confidence, the car didn't feel confident. I didn't feel confident. Really at the end in any scenario where I had to flag and it kind of waffled. So I'm actually going to give confidence a 4, which is really, really bad. So this is going to take the scores really, really down. But that was this drive. I may go on more drives where it feels better or more confident. But this particular drive, not confidence inspiring at the hard parts. Confidence inspiring in the good parts, the easy parts, the straightforward parts. In the complicated parts, or parts that I thought were going to be complicated, it did worse than I expected. And so that's why I got the score I got. All right. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Until the next time, enjoy your day. Enjoy your Tesla.